You might think you're confident understanding how to apply headings in an accessible way. How confident are you of this? Unpacking the actual intent of WCAG's success criterion is always challenging. And it's quite easy to let biases creep in of what we think is not accessible versus what actually is accessible, according to WCAG at least. Or more often the case, jump to the sufficient techniques. See H42 using H1 to H6 to identify headings and work back and come to the conclusion, well, if this is a sufficient technique, then clearly headings need to be arranged in a certain way. There are two success criterion in WCAG at the AA conformance level specific to headings. 1.3.1 info and relationships and 2.4.6 headings and labels. The 2.4.6 headings and labels success criterion doesn't require headings, only that if headings are provided in content, then they are descriptive. Single characters, words and phrases are all appropriate for providing a cue for creating a content hierarchy. So far, so good. But the success criterion which can often trip people up is 1.3.1 info and relationships. Missing H1 elements and skipped heading levels don't represent a failure against WCAG. I know it sounds surprising, but success criterion 1.3.1 info and relationships only describe that information and relationships conveyed visually remain the same when the presentation format changes, such as being outputted by a screen reader. The absence of H1 elements, whilst poor practice, is not a failure of WCAG, as the success criterion isn't saying every page must have a H1, only that if the page has visual presentation changes which look like a heading, then those elements must use heading elements. This also applies to multiple H1 heading elements on a page and heading levels which are skipped, so jumping from a H2 to a H4. Whilst all are poor practice, they're not failures of WCAG. If, however, the visual display of the information is arranged in a certain way to step down heading levels, then this needs to use the correct heading levels also. If a document structure visually looks like it steps down in levels from a H2 to a H3 and then a H4, then that heading must also have the correct level of heading element applied. If the document hierarchy implied a certain order, yet the heading elements used are different to that order, how it is displayed, then this would be a failure. It ultimately all boils down to a simple phrase. If it looks like a heading, it probably is best to be a heading using text which is descriptive, and use common sense when ordering heading levels, and that they follow a correct sequence. Check the description for links to WCAG success criterion 2.4.6 and 1.3.1, as well as further reading around how best to understand what is and what isn't a failure of WCAG when using headings. If you found the video useful, click the thumbs up and leave a comment below. And if you're interested in being notified when new accessibility videos are released and available, please click the subscribe button.